The important thing to understand is that Ukraine is a colony of the United States. Nothing happens in Ukraine without the permission and direction of the people that control the U.S. government now. And the important thing to remember about that is, we understand that when Maidan happened and the famous Victoria Nuland intercepted phone call, everybody said, oh, it's, she said, F the EU, and so that was like the big scandal. But that missed the whole point, that what she was talking to Pyatt about, who was the U.S. ambassador, was deciding exactly who for exactly what office of the Ukrainian government. And all the people that she said in that phone call ended up in exactly the positions that she directed them to be in. So, Nuland worked for Clinton's Secretary of State. She worked for Biden. Obama called him, and Biden called himself the point man in Ukraine from 2014 until the end of the Obama administration. And so here's the important thing to understand about that. It was Biden who directed the rebels of Maidan to get those Georgian snipers to shoot the protesters and the cops. 100 people were murdered by snipers in Maidan in Kiev. Nobody really knows, the Ukrainian courts have never placed the blame on anybody, although they say it was the Berkut, which is of course a lie. But there are Georgian snipers, mercenaries, who came forward and said that they were paid. They named names. They said exactly where they were, who gave the orders, and the orders were to shoot protesters and cops, just to escalate the level of violence. That could not, and that was on the Hotel Ukraine, which was at that time, whole floors of it were being like rented out and controlled and occupied by CIA and U.S. Secret Services. So the U.S. has been responsible for everything that happened. Biden personally was the leader of the U.S. policy in Ukraine when the Maidan snipers murdered 100 people, when in May 2nd of 2014, the Odessa massacre, where they brought in a bunch of neo-Nazis that burned alive an unknown number of people, but certainly scores of people that were burned alive, beaten to death, and murdered in Odessa for peacefully protesting against this coup. And then again, you understand that also in 2014 was MH17 shot down, the Dutch airline, or the Malaysian airline with all the Dutch people on it, that's now being a kangaroo court in The Hague in Amsterdam. But this is all Biden's work, and he was a very evil, dangerous dude back then. Obviously now, he can't even find his own ass with both hands. He's completely senile, but the people that controlled him back then and are now again in power. So, Biden is the guy who instructed him. He was here 2 days before they started the official ATO, anti-terrorist operation, when the Ukrainian army moved against the people of Donbass. And in the first days of that operation, civilians were literally standing in front of tanks and BMPs, holding their hands like the dude in Tiananmen Square, and they were getting run over and shot. And so they said, okay, if we can't ask, for reason, if we can't ask for compassion, then we'll fight, and really